How's it going, everybody? Uh, Aristarchus, a, a Macedonian from Thessalonica, boy, that'll wake me up, was also with us. We left on a ship whose home port was Adramyttium on the northwest coast of the province of Asia. It was scheduled to make several stops at ports along the coast of the province. The next day, when we docked at Sidon, Julius was very kind to Paul and let him go ashore to visit with friends so they could provide for his needs. Putting out to sea from there, we encountered strong headwinds. This is quite the journey. There's also a snake involved later. Wow. Yeah, the strong headwinds made it difficult to keep the ship on course, so we sailed north to Cyprus between the land of the mainland. Keeping to the open sea, we passed along the coast of Cilicia and Pamphylia. Pamphylia. I mean, you got the L after the F sound, Pamph, E. Figure it's going to make a E sound. And then Elia. So maybe the Y is silent, Pamphylia. Landing at Myra in the province of Lycia. There, the commanding officer found an Egyptian ship from Alexandria. So how many like places? So the more I looked, this is all the locations highlighted in yellow. And I had trouble with that name to begin with. And then you start, look at all these different locations that are named. Some of them, are easy to pronounce, like Cyprus or Myra, Lycia, Alexandria, Italy. But these are all continues, Fair Havens, all Phoenix. Forgot to highlight Crete. So just it's like a whole journey of location to location to location, location. You know what I mean? So it's just, this is just about their journey and how they encounter a storm and how they're going to stay here and going to stay there. So anyway, putting out to sea, they encountered strong headwinds that made it difficult to keep the ship on course. So we sailed north to Cyprus between the island and the mainland. Keeping to the open sea, we passed along the coast of that place and that place, landing at Myra and the province of Lycia. There, the commanding officer found an Egyptian ship from Alexandria that was bound for Italy, so he put us on board. We had several days of slow sailing, and after great difficulty, we finally neared that place. But the wind was against us, so we sailed across to Crete. And along, we sheltered coast of the island past the Cape of Salmon. We struggled along the coast with great difficulty and finally arrived at Fair Havens, near the town of that place. We had lost a lot of time. The weather was becoming dangerous for sea travel because it was so late in the fall. Paul spoke to the ship's officers about it. Men, he said, I believe there's trouble ahead if we go on. Shipwreck, loss of cargo, and danger to our lives as well. But the officer in charge of the prisoners listened more to the ship's captain and the owner than to Paul. And since Fair Havens was an exposed harbor, a poor place to spend the winter, most of the crew wanted to go on to Phoenix, farther up the coast of Crete, and spend the winter there. Phoenix was a good harbor with only a southwest and northwest exposure. The storm at sea. When a light, hang on a second. I I accidentally registered in 2 columns. So I looked at the top of one column and the bottom of the next column. So I read too much. So we ended tonight with, and said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only to the landing and ship, but also our lives. Read that in King James. So let's move on to Daniel. This is finishing up Nebuchadnezzar's story of his salvational process that he is telling. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers. So we're thinking 7 years, right? And his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers. Excuse me, I already read that. And his nails like bird's claws. So we're definitely thinking 7 years. At the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar. So this is his story. He's going back to first person because he's the one writing this. Sometimes he refers to himself in the third person, second person, third, first, second. But here he is in the first person. I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, why doest thou? Why does he find fault? Romans 9. So Romans 9, King James Version, Bible Gateway. We know that Romans 9, 11 through 24 is Paul's explanation of the fairness of God choosing his from before the foundation of the world. Why does he find fault? Who has resisted his will? So, and why hast thou made me thus? And or say unto him, why doest thou? But it's all about his will, isn't it? That's what they don't teach in the churches. They don't teach God's will. They teach man's free will. And this Romans 9, 11 through 24 is a very deep dive. It's a very deep explanation that Paul gives for explaining the fairness of God choosing his from before the foundation of the world. Doesn't the potter, God, have power over the clay, mankind, of the same lump of clay, to make one vessel unto honor, sheep, and another unto dishonor, goats? The goats are said here as to be vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. And then there's the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. I read this to somebody today. It just went right over their head. They're so embedded. They can't see the truth. It doesn't matter. You just pound their head against it. They can't see it. It's a shame. But understanding the truth, the Holy Spirit's the spirit of truth, and you only got the Holy Spirit if you can receive truth, and you can only receive truth if you got the Holy Spirit. And it's funny, these people claim to be in the Spirit because they go to those crazy churches that speaks in weird languages, and it's just babble, blah, 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 and it's demonic entities that's speaking through them like that. It's a shame. Crying shame. But it's the will of God. So at that same time, my reason returned unto me, And for the glory of my kingdom, mine honor and brightness returned unto me. And my counselors and my lords sought unto me. And I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth and his judgments. All whose works are truth and his ways judgment. And those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. All right, love y'all very much. Sorry I'm so tired, y'all. Just ask questions though, anytime. All right, love y'all.